Hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we endeavor to discuss with you the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. It has been a wild, crazy week down on campus, and a lot of good things to talk about that have happened down there in the last several days, with the major events going on either side of Crittenden. And I would imagine the traffic down there is nuts. I didn't get into it the last couple of days. Had some other stuff going on, but I can imagine getting around might be just a little bit difficult with louder than life, and of course all the U of L women's athletic events, other events going on down there. But we'll ask somebody about that directly who has been doing that in a second, and let's go ahead and just introduce the crew today. There's a crew of three today, and actually it'll be two after about 10:30, as Jared Anderson will be leaving us to. Uh, what is it exactly you have to do, Jared? I didn't remember exactly.
Yeah, just got some company in town. Got a buddy visit in, and we're hanging out, and then we'll head over to the football game later on this afternoon.
There you go. So Jared will be covering that. That's one of the other things that's going on campus. If it wasn't crowded enough in that area, they're going to try to pack 55,000 into Cardinal Stadium for football. In addition,
Wow, you're optimistic for the fan turnout there.
I think that the crowd is finally beginning to pick up a little bit, but I could be way off. I don't know. I mean, you'll be able to eyeball it and see what you think of it. Uh, what is it, hold 58 now? Is that right?
It's
It seats a little over 60 something thousand.
It's over 60 now. Okay.
So. Yeah, but the way U of L calculates attendance, if there's 25,000 people in their seats, the attendance is about 50,000.
Yeah, we're counting everybody that drives by on I-65 basically, because you can kind of see into the.
Hey, in all fairness, that's how we calculated the field hockey numbers yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the soccer numbers, they used to ask a yellow shirt.
Yeah.
And he would always come up with the same number each week. And so Matt was kind of like, maybe we need to kind of like just do an eyeball at this thing and look and see what we think it is. But they didn't have to count too long out there. The last ones, that was kind of sad and disappointing that there were so few there to watch that soccer win.
Unfortunate, because it was,
it was a great match. It was great to watch. I wish I could have been there for it, but I couldn't get there. Just didn't have the get up and go to do it. But Jared with us, of course. Jeff McAdams also in the house today. Just had a fun week. Mostly fun past few days, I guess, watching volleyball. We was out there for the Stanford loss, unfortunately, and the reverse sweep, which I'm still kind of scratching my head over. Maybe we'll get some insight from you on that. But Jeff McAdams in the house as well.
Yep, it's been a busy week. Actually, during the week, didn't get to pay too much attention to sports, but busy at work and a little bit of a new role at work, and having a lot of fun with it. So that's actually a good change. And my mother had some surgery early in the week, so I've been kind of helping her out a little bit. It's got my hands a little bit full. Not much. I haven't done a whole lot. She's pretty self-sufficient. So, but the sports events that I have been to have been the frustrating Stanford match and a good romp last night.
Yeah, last night was that's a polite term, a romp.
Yeah.
That was a more like drag you out into the alley and beat you within an inch of your life, and then take your wallet and step on you on the way out.
Yeah, it was not particularly competitive. So
no, but it was a fun match.
Yeah.
From our side at least. Yeah.
I think Danny played a couple that had not played all season or played very little all season out there for that.
I think she's pulling some parents out of the stands to play.
I thought so. I thought a couple of yellow shirts saw him changing the jerseys real quick and ran out there and started playing. Let's hope they didn't let Tom Curley out there. But anyway, a nice win.
Bounce it off his hand cart thing.
I'm going to tell him you said that when I see him tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, tell him it for sure. Because he'll go, that pile Well, where's that guy that looks like Wolfman or runs up and down the steps? What do you mean, Jeff? Yeah, that's his favorite. Because he writes for you, doesn't he? No, he's just our Wolfman, Tom. That's all he does is haunt people. But anyway, so I'll probably see Tom Tuesday too, or no, not this Tuesday. I'll see him next Tuesday. Okay. And of course, I'm with you today. Interesting week for me, going through the medical maze that is our current system here in the United States, where they sometimes want you to do not one, not two, but four different types of people all doing the same role. A little duplication there, but anyway, looking at for the best interest for me, of course, and certainly I've had so many needles and probes and prods into me that I feel like a pincushion. But we keep on with it. We stay active and try to do what we can with the energy that we've got left. And having a good morning this morning, so I'm happy about that. But let's moving on into, I guess, a little bit of scheduling and Twitter information, since Case is not here to do that. He and Daryl, by the way, just to let you all know, are at a Louder Than Life. So if they're tone deaf or can't hear anything for the next couple of weeks, that will be the reason why. Because you could hear them blasting over there the other night, couldn't you, Jared?
Yeah, I think Foo Fighters was the Thursday night, late night slot there, and you couldn't make out the song or anything, but you could definitely pick up the rumble. And I'll be out at Dr. Mark and Cindy Lynn Stadium tomorrow night, and then soccer has the match, and I'm sure I'm going to be able to hear Green Day, which I'm excited for. I'm ready to hear Green Day. But moving on over to scheduling, go on and hang tight. It's a lot going on. So today we've got women's golf is down in Franklin, Tennessee for the Mason Rudolph Invitational. That's going to be going on for a few days. Vandy's the host. Women's tennis is in Nashville for an event at Vandy. The scheduling accidentally listed as September 23rd through January 1st. I don't think anybody wants to be in Nashville that long. It's actually just running this weekend only. Men's tennis is out in Malibu, California, and then football's got their second home game of the season. They're up against Boston College this afternoon at 3:30. So you're going to have football traffic and Louder Than Life traffic going on over there. I would avoid the area at all costs if you aren't going to either of those. Moving ahead to tomorrow, women's tennis will stay in Nashville for pretty much all day affair. Men's tennis remains in Malibu. Women's golf will stay down in Franklin, Tennessee for that invitational. Men's golf is down in Durham, North Carolina. Women's soccer is back in action. They're going to take on Miami down in Coral Gables, Florida. This is a noon kick. ACC Network Extra if you want to follow along for that one. Softball starts their fall schedule. They've got a doubleheader up in Columbus against Ohio State, starting at noon. No TV, no streaming for that. Volleyball stays at home at L&M Federal Credit Union Arena. 1 o'clock start time against Boston College for this one. Hopefully it'll be similar result to the Syracuse match last night. We will see. And men's soccer has a 7 p.m. kick at home against NC State. Monday, we've got men's golf is in action still in Durham. And then Tuesday, field hockey picks back up. They're heading up to Oxford, Ohio. They've got a match against Miami University. Set is 2 o'clock for this one. At the time, there's no TV or streaming listed. Probably just going to be a live stat only option for this mid-major college. And then Wednesday, volleyball gets no break this week. They head on up to South Bend for a 7 p.m. start against Notre Dame. Go on and assume this is probably going to be ACC Network Extra or ACC Network, somewhere in there. That way you can see streaming. Go ahead and take Thursday off. Nothing going on Thursday this coming week. Friday, pretty busy again. Men's soccer is in action on the road. Field hockey is going to be at home. They've got a 3 o'clock start time against Virginia, so their second ACC matchup of the year. ACC Network Extra for the feed. Swim and dive will be at the Ralph Wright Natatorium for the first time this school year. They've got a meet against Xavier University. This is just a one-on-one meet, so no invitationals for this one. Men's tennis is in Tulsa and Tuscaloosa. They're splitting up the action there. And then football will have a 7 p.m. Friday night kickoff at NC State, if you're following along. And that'll get us to at least next Saturday. So it's a very, very busy slate this week for fall sports. And we'll skip over to Twitter just real quick. Daryl tweets out as DarylFast4. That's the number 4. Case tweets out as best case scenario. That's BST, and the word best due to the Twitter character limit. Paulie tweets out as Cardinal Couple. Jeff's got a couple Twitter accounts, Jeff McAdams and Card Couple Radio. And I tweet out as Mr. Anderson Jared. Boom, and we got that done by 11:10.
Oh, Jared was definitely a 33 record being played at the speed of 78 on that one. He got them all done in force, though, and well covered. And Franklin, have you ever been to Franklin, Tennessee? Either one of you guys?
I feel like I've been through it or something.
Yeah.
I have not, but I know former women's soccer player Callie McKinney's from Franklin, Tennessee.
Yeah. It is just this neat little town that's kind of, I guess you would call it a suburb, if to use the terminology right, maybe of Nashville. But it's kind of like a really, really ritzy suburb.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful homes there. It's just this little old hometown feel to their main street and everything. A friend of mine who had gone to UofL with later on went into the ministry and became the head pastor of the Franklin United Methodist Church down there, and invited me to come visit him. It's kind of like inviting the devil into heaven, right? But then I went on down it, and then he's turned into be quite a very, very well spoken and definitely not your stereotype idea of maybe the loudmouth ministers who ask you for money on television or stuff like that. It's almost like he's holding a college class. His sermons, they're pretty neat. And but yeah, if you ever get a chance to spend a day in Franklin, go have fun on their main street. Check out the beautiful homes and the architecture down there. And that's another $25 for the Cardinal Couple Fund. Thank you, Franklin, Tennessee. Ding. So, but yeah, we'll get right on into it a little bit here. We got a lot of things that have happened this week, and let's go ahead and start it out with women's soccer, as the Cards brought in Pittsburgh to play at Mark Lynn Stadium down there. A Pittsburgh team that had been outscoring opponents 21-7 on the season. A Pittsburgh squad that had but one loss on their record. And just, I kind of thought to myself, well, I know we'll give them a game, maybe, but I did not see us winning this. But Louisville jumps out to a 2-0 lead on Pitt and is able to maintain that in the second half and gets a 3-2. Take it around the board. Jared, you were out there with me. What'd you think, bud?
Yeah, that was a surprising victory for women's soccer. I wasn't sure if the Louisville defense was going to be able to contain Pitt with how much of a scoring affair they have. And for a majority of the match, Louisville looked great defensively, and they kind of rode the same defensive pressure they've done all year. Really pushed forward, and it allowed them to convert into offense. The goal by Emma Hiscock was a heck of a shot. You got to give her credit on that, just to be aggressive. Because I think the offense has been a little timid when they get within the box there, and I think Emma Hiscock said, okay, it's enough of that, and she just took the shot, and it worked. And I think that's kind of how we need to look at it going forward. The goal by Emerson was a little bit of a crazy, hectic goal going on down there. A great shot there. And then same for Mackenzie Geigley later. It seemed like the ball was bouncing around a little bit, and she was able to get just enough of it and put it in the back of the net. So fantastic performance on the offense. That's something that we've been waiting to see all season, and it finally showed here. Defensively, I guess you'd really only want to say they gave up one goal. The other one was on a penalty kick. Replay was kind of hard to see, but maybe the keeper ended up hitting the attacker's ankle instead of the ball, which led to that foul in the box. Could argue either way, but it did not affect the outcome of Louisville walking away with 3 points in conference play.
Yeah, the referee called that was he did not like the Louisville coaching staff very much. He ended up giving, I think, the Louisville coaching staff a yellow card.
Oh yes, and
I've never
that's
seen
an
that.
official.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we've had this official several matches this year, and this crew's done a great job in the past, but they were off their game Thursday.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which assistant it was. I couldn't tell, but the little ref just went over there and said, "No, no, no, I'm not going to take this. You get a yellow card." Like Oprah handing out things to her studio audience, and you get a yellow card, and you get a yellow card. But hey, uh, okay, that's fine. You have to have officials, but I was impressed with several here. Jeff, Aaron Floyd, and goalkeep. She had held Virginia to a goal earlier in the week, and then 2 goals against Pitt, making stops all over the place. She's really stepped in on the sophomores, as making some incredible stops out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. She looked really great. Again, this Pitt offense that all season has been pretty aggressive, pretty high scoring, and to be able to kind of get close to a blank slate, not quite, but on that was really pretty impressive. And some of the saves she made were just really spectacular. Great to watch. I think she's really solidified her position as being the goalkeeper of choice for this team. I don't think there was a whole lot of doubt about that in any case, but certainly there's no question at this point. Um, she's pardon the pun, she's a keeper. So
Okay, we'll give you credit for that one. Small, light credit.
yeah,
Credit.
yeah.
Hey, but let's look at this. And Jared, this team was without Maya Maxwell, without Lizzie Sexton, and without Autumn Weeks, and still came in and did this. It's very impressive to me. But let's look underneath the carpet to see if there's any dirt. I know a couple were injuries, but what's going on with these 3 not being able to play?
Yeah, you'd think going into the match with those injuries, and then we still have never not gotten to see Brooke Dardano or Ava Nielsen this year either, as they've had some nagging injuries. So you immediately look at the injury chart and you're thinking, huh, well, this is already working in Pitt's favor, and that's kind of how I was feeling. But maybe it gave the opportunity to a lot of these younger players who may not see as many minutes to get out there and get on the field, and they got something to prove. They want to solidify their playing time going forward when other players return from injury, and they did not disappoint. All 3 players who scored Thursday night got their first goals of the season, which is great. And they just showed a lot of aggressive tactics on offense, not hesitating to take shots. And I thought they utilized more of the pitch than they normally do. They like to compress too much, in my opinion. They really worked sideline to sideline, and they spread out Pitt a lot and gave more one-on-one matchups that we haven't seen on the offensive standpoint yet. So I was very impressed.
Certainly a nice defensive ploy for the Cards too. I think we had mentioned they were in a 3-4-3 most of the match. If I'm correct on that.
I'd almost want to say it was closer to a 3-2-2-3, where those back 2 would pull back and you almost hit a hybrid 5 back row at times, but they would also push forward into the midfield and give you more of a 4-person midfield at times too. So it was a formation that we haven't seen before. So there was enough to still pull back on defense when needed, but it allowed you to swing more players forward and press on offense. And I thought it paid off really well. We kind of switched back to our standard 4-3-3, 4-4-2 later on in the match as we built a comfortable lead just to try and prevent a bunch of goals towards the end. But I thought we performed really well with a different look.
And I think a defense that may have shook up Pittsburgh at times, and this we're trying to figure out what exactly is Louisville doing. They were thinking, but it's a W. We'll take it. And the Cards now in what has been a very long home stretch for them, quite honestly, coming to a temporary end as they get ready to go out on the road. Sunday they will travel down to Miami, Florida, for a match down there against Sebastian the Ibis's bunch. But it's a Miami squad that is kind of struggling a little bit on soccer, women's soccer, 2-4-3 on the season. And also, boy, Thursday night they got knocked around by Clemson all night long. A 5-0 loss in Coral Gables to the Clemson Tigers. So, not looking too promising maybe for the Hurricanes against this, but let's hope that Louisville can go out there and get a win on the road, guys.
I think on paper it's pretty close to an even matchup. I think Louisville's riding momentum right now that they really needed, coming off of a draw against ranked Virginia and then the win against Pitt, while Miami is kind of the opposite, getting the daylights beat out of them against Clemson kind of puts them in a little bit of a rut. So I think we need to continue pressing forward and ride this momentum.
Absolutely so. It's a very, very good idea. Let's see if they can do that. Unfortunately, we did not get any kind of post-game comments from I mentioned to Jared that we might possibly, a couple players to talk to, and of course the coach, but informed that the coach was not going to do any post-game interviews. So I'm not going to take this any further. Coach made a decision and stuck with it, so that's the way that worked. Okay, but we'll wish them the best of luck going into the Sunday match. Let's move on over to more action out on Floyd Street. This one, of course, a little bit north of where this soccer match took place. Let's go to field hockey. Yes, field hockey is the Cards brought in James Madison University to play Louisville. James Madison program that I did not know that they had won a national championship, guys, but I found that out that they had done that. And they used to be a powerhouse at one time, maybe not quite as much of a powerhouse as they used to be. They came into Traeger at 2-5 and looking to kind of see if they could get maybe a program revitalization win against a top 5 opponent, but it just wasn't there for them, was it?
Yeah, it was pretty one-sided against James Madison yesterday, putting up 4 goals, which is something Louisville field hockey hasn't done in quite some time. Just really went at James Madison. It was a one-sided affair most of the match. I thought Louisville got a little relaxed in the second half, but when you're up 3-0 at halftime, it's hard to want to keep up that same press that you were doing in the first half. Did allow the one goal. It seemed like a pretty quick response, so to turn around and score right back against JMU right after that, and Sari was pleased with the what we decided was kind of the just the mental discipline of the team to respond in such a way versus just putting your heads down and shaking your head that you allowed a goal. I think that shows a lot of veteran leadership with a lot of these 4th and 5th year players we have. But it was also just nice to see the team get a very easy win following a bit of a break, being able to sub some players out because they've got another match Tuesday and another one Friday. So it's this little stretch is going to be challenging and demanding from a physical standpoint.
It will be indeed, as the Cards were plumb perfect early on. Okay, there's my play on words.
Nice. It's good alliteration. I like it.
Chloe and Amy, the sisters, got the first 2 goals for the Cardinals in this match, building them up to a 2-0 lead. And I love the combination of these two playing together. And am I wrong in assuming here that Chloe showing up on campus has really kind of revitalized Amy's game?
It seems that way. I don't think they've really got a true sibling rivalry going on, but they're really playing off of each other, and that familiarity with each other, just growing up and playing together all these years, seems to work well. The Plums are from England, so it does give you a legit family member that's here with you when the rest of your friends and family from childhood are all overseas, which is nice. But then Amy's put in some extra work in the off season in terms of trying to approach from a scoring standpoint, and I thought it's really paid off. And being able to show off for your sister is always cool too.
As the card shift took us from 4-1, and post game, Cassie was pretty firm in the fact that she did not have a rivalry when she talked to Jared with any of the Plum sisters. because I think it was her and Amy that are tied for the team leading goals now. Am I correct on that?
Yes, Amy and Kaz each have 4 goals on the season, so tied for team lead. Kazzy, we've known her as a strong offensive player, but she doesn't score a lot. So for her to have 4 goals this season is good, and shows a lot of hard work has paid off for her in the offseason. So you've got to be happy for her. She's a fifth-year player, came back to utilize her COVID year of eligibility. She wants to be here. She wants to win a national championship, and she's made that abundantly clear all season. Is why she's returned, and I think it's paying off.
A nice bounce back for the Cards, who had actually lost a week prior to that down at UNC. So obviously, no disgrace in losing to UNC on their home turf. A 2-0 loss there for Louisville, but now back into it, and we'll head up to Miami, Ohio. As Jared mentioned a little bit earlier, an interesting kind of Tuesday match here, and well, it is what it is. They're trying to get matches in, and if Tuesday's the day they'll do this, and that's the day they'll do it. But Jeff, this team is, in my opinion, a team that is hitting the ball really, really good right now. Has only been able to score a couple goals the contest until this one. Is it just they don't have that clear, defined leader yet? What's going on here with these guys?
Yeah, I was going to draw the comparison actually between both women's soccer and field hockey here, in that they both really kind of, I don't know, maybe they've turned a corner, maybe they flipped a switch, whatever sports metaphor you want to use on that. But soccer was struggling to find offense, and all of a sudden they found a lot of offense, and then field hockey has, we talked early on a lot about struggling to convert corners, corner penalties. And man, I think all 4 of these goals were corner penalties. Is that what I saw?
Two of them were officially off corners. I think a third one was basically a direct result follow up from a corner. But yeah, UofL was 2 for 6 on the corner, so a .333 conversion percentage, which is great.
Way better than they opened the season with, and even in past couple of seasons we've talked about it quite a bit. So it's really it's exciting to see that maybe these 2 teams have found the solution to some woes, or found the solution to some weak spots there. But exciting to see. This has the potential for being a really fun year for both of these teams if they really have fixed up some of those problems.
It would be indeed to see if that was the case, and that could Louisville go through this season with a sole loss, and that being it. Boy, wouldn't that be something to see?
Right.
A team that took, I think they were 12-6 last year, so it would be a nice turnaround. And we kind of looked at the team and said, well, they've lost some pretty key players here. We don't know at the start of the season, but halfway through this season almost, I think you could say that field hockey is definitely flying on all 4 engines, and certainly worthy of that number 4 in the nation ranking now. Did I see that right? Number 4 in the nation. So
correct, yeah.
And number 1 in RPI.
How about that?
Is it officially out at this point for field hockey?
For field hockey, yes. I saw UofL promoted that the other day, which is great. I mean, this has been a brutal schedule, and to only have 1 loss at this point of the year is phenomenal. Because even when I was looking and kind of previewing the season, I would have had us at about 3 losses already at this point of the year. So this is great.
Yeah. I've been seeing some of the unofficial RPI numbers for volleyball, and I wasn't sure because the official RPI isn't out yet for volleyball. But I was just curious if the real one was actually out. So interesting.
Well, you'd have to think volleyball RPI's got to be number 1 or 2.
It's looking very, very good from all the official ones, unofficial ones I've seen so far. So
it was the highest goal output of the season for the Cards, as we mentioned earlier. 4 goals. Prior to that, I think it was Northeastern that they put up 3 goals against to basically start the season at Traeger. So that going on, and the Cards kind of broke their win record of getting 2 goals per game, which they had done for a 4-game stretch there before the loss to UNC, beating 4 straight opponents in Penn, Princeton, Ohio State, and VCU by the same exact 2-1 score. So I'm sure Coach Sauer, once he saw the scoreboard turn to 3, said, "Yes, I'm finally out of this Groundhog Day nightmare. Thank you."
Well, if it's 2-1, I don't know if that's a nightmare. I mean, that is a win in all those cases.
It's a W.
Yeah.
Coach Sauer probably waking up and saying, "What time is it? It's 2-1, Coach." "Oh, no, I'm going back to sleep." But anyway, so a good win for them indeed. And I said, Jared, you'll be cutting down on it soon, I'm thinking here.
Yeah, about to head out right now, actually.
Yes, he's got many things going on, but maybe if you want to stick around for just a little bit, we're going to do some extensive volleyball talk here next. So hang in for that a little bit if you want. Butt in and say something if you care to. We'll go ahead and talk this about the Cards. Actually has had 2 matches since we've last talked with you. I want to let you talk about this loss to Stanford, Jeff, as much as you want. And if you don't want to go very far into it, all I know is it was a very unexpected reverse sweep that gave Stanford the win.
Yeah, there certainly was. It was expected to be a very good match. Stanford, we knew, was a very good team. They played very well. I think they only have 1 loss to Nebraska, who also is a very good team. So this year, so again, both perennial powerhouses in Nebraska and Stanford, and they came in. It's just part of this 4-year series with us, Nebraska, Stanford, and Kentucky, kind of a round robin sort of thing going on over the course of 4 years, home and home in all cases. But this would have been our last matchup with Stanford as part of that deal. Although now Stanford is joining the ACC, so this will be at least once a year thing going forward. Yeah, I mean, they're a really good team. They have one of the only Libros that's really getting discussion in volleyball circles for being the best Libro of the year, along with our own Elena Scott. And some great hitters, some really good blocking. But what happened was a lot of that did not show up in the first 2 sets, and Louisville just kind of cruised fairly easily, honestly, to those first 2 set wins. Maybe it was too early in the morning for West Coast Stanford folks, but maybe they woke up at the set break. They got some caffeine in them, maybe in the locker room, and came back out. They started blocking well, which is really kind of hurt us. But they were also their hitting engaged much better. They were able to take us out of system quite a bit more, and starting in the 3rd set, which means that we can't set to our middles as much, which is a very important part of our team's identity and gameplay. So without being able to go to the middle as much, they were able to kind of set up on those outside pins and really kind of reinforce that block on us. So frustrating turn of events. To that reverse sweep is always super frustrating. To be up 2-0 and then lose it, it's like any other sport where you get a big lead and lose it, and it's really frustrating. Obviously this team took that to heart and came back with a vengeance yesterday against a not very good Syracuse team. But 1 loss against what was at the time the number 5 team in the country. They're now number 4. We're number 5 now, and that's not a bad loss. And along with some other wins that we have, win over Kentucky, who is still ranked somehow. I'm not sure how they're still ranked. But also, wins over excuse me, drawing a blank here. Washington State that we have, and Dayton early in the season. Both of those are really turning into some real RPI boosters. Washington State's almost in the top 10. Dayton's down around 23, 24, but they're up in the rankings now, which I don't think too many people expected at the beginning of the season. So, in addition to just our overall tough schedule, we've got 2 in there that are really becoming a big RPI boost that I don't think we really expected. So, we're in good shape at this point.
Do you think fatigue at all might have been a factor in this? I mean, just kind of looking at the month of September for Louisville volleyball, they had only had one previous 5-set match the entire month of September. That, of course, being against Dayton, and then had an emotional 3-set win over Kentucky 4 days earlier with almost 13,000 in the KFCM Center,
Mhm.
beating your state rival that badly in a sweep, and then Stanford coming in, and then you're kind of jumping out to a 2-0 lead on them. But did it finally all just catch up with them, you think? And it just kind of.
I don't perceive it that way. I think Stanford came in playing very flat, playing below their ability, and they were able to engage that at the set break. And they adjusted to the situation, and we didn't particularly. Um, maybe we got a little complacent, but I wouldn't think it was an effort or a tiring, being tired, being worn out. They've had some good breaks. So I don't think that was it. I think it's just Stanford decided to show up after 2 sets and gave us a fit that we couldn't quite adjust to.
Any hangover folks might have feared going into the match against Syracuse simply did not develop or take place as the Cards were able to shake that 5-set loss off. And we'll get into the Syracuse game in just a little bit here. Just a little bit about personnel right here, about the team and everything. Obviously, not a lot of players played against in the Stanford match,
Mhm.
but when you've got such a strong nucleus for a starting lineup as Louisville has, do you really need to go very deep in these kind of things, Jeff?
Typically, no. That's one of the things I like about this team is that you've got a good, strong core. I think for the most part, our position battles are settled, and you've got a consistency and a core at this point. But the flip side of that is we do have the depth available if it's needed. If it's if somebody's sick, somebody's goes down injured. Heaven forbid. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But in any position, we've got somebody that can step up. We showed that I think a little bit last night with Syracuse, where we played everybody and their brother out there. Um, but yeah, it's I think we only played 8 against Stanford, if I remember correctly. I'm not looking at the stat sheet at the moment.
There was
Uh,
not much of a rotation on that one, and
yeah.
I
So I
don't
think
think
the
they
only
wanted to in the second half.
I think the only official sub, if we only played 8, which I think is the case, the only official sub would have been no, we played more than that. We played more than that. It was in Kentucky match that we didn't play that many. Okay, but anyway, if we only played 8, the only official sub would have been Camden Strand coming into in the back row in place of Iko Jones. But we did play more than that in the Stanford match. So, yeah, you've got that core, and I think that rotation of 8 that we had against Kentucky really shows that. So, but yeah, the depth is great to have it there in case somebody just has an off game or whatever. But so, um, it's a great place to be in. It's why I'm really positive on this team despite that loss.
Jared, of course, was there, and I'm glad you're still with us, Jared, because you were getting some great photos of this thing. Fantastic photo work, including a couple of Sonny and I, who were in deep discussion during us. I think you must have taken this one right after the loss, where Sonny's looking at me and frowning, and I've got this blank expression on my face. Did I just see what happened here? But good photography at work as usual out of you, sir. But your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was 2 completely different halves. As Jeff mentioned, I think UofL came out firing right out of the gate, and Stanford played flat. That was not the Stanford volleyball that most of us are familiar with, that we followed this year. And I talked to Jeff and his mom at halftime some. I said, "This doesn't look like Stanford that I was expecting to see." And then, yeah, they woke up at halftime and realized that they needed to turn it around. And we didn't really make any adjustments, but also at the time, You're up 2 sets. There weren't a ton of adjustments you really need to make. And then when Stanford came out, how they did, we were almost like a deer in the headlights for a little bit there, trying to figure out what was going on. And I think it took us too long to realize that Stanford turned things around in the second half, and it took us too long to try and fix that. That by then there's almost a little bit of panic setting in that we were up 2-0 and now we're about to go to 5 sets. Yeah, so I think at one point it became more of a mental battle for the team than anything else. And but it's a lesson learned type point. I mean, I'm not expecting us to go undefeated. That's extremely difficult to do. But it's also, I guess, as a student athlete, it could be kind of a humbling moment too to realize you're beatable, and anybody is going to be able to beat you because they're going to give you their best. Especially when you're a top 5 team, there's a big target on your back. Well, wake up! Here it is. And I think they really showed that against Syracuse. I wasn't expecting a close match at all against Syracuse, but we really slammed the door shut and proved anybody who may have questioned how good we really are, and just proved the doubters wrong. But yeah, that Stanford match, there's just 2 different halves, but it happens.
And of course, in that one, and we'll get to that one in just a second here, they were able to play quite a few different players and combinations in the win over Syracuse. But I think basically Stanford said in the third set, any thoughts that you might have of winning this thing in 3 are now null and void, as they beat Louisville 25-14 in that third set. And I don't even know if it was that close. They just seemed to be knocking everything back down our throats up there in that third set of this match. But that maybe, do you think, Jeff, maybe had a small effect on the psyche of Louisville? But hey, we were cruising along, and all of a sudden, I think the sleeping giant just woke up.
Yeah, I think it's a very real possibility on that. It definitely was the Stanford that we expected to see. And I do think they were just a little bit that Louisville maybe was just taken aback by it, that weren't really maybe gotten in cruise control and weren't quite ready for that. But good learning experience takes, as we're talking about, takes a little bit of that pressure off of saying, hey, are we going to be able to maintain this undefeated thing, right? That's an extra thing. It's like that status going away removes that one piece of pressure. So that's a positive thing. Honestly, I think that's a positive thing as well. So yeah, caught us by surprise, I think, a little bit.
And this is the second matchup in 2 years you've seen of these two schools, as you actually went out to Stanford last year.
I did. I took the trip out there last year.
Did you see the beginnings of what this program has turned into on Stanford's side out there watching them last year?
Well, Stanford has traditionally been a very good team over many years. They've got quite a few national championships under their belt as well. But yeah, when we played them last year, I was not super impressed with them, to be honest. And I saw the core of, there was a lot of talent there, and there is a lot of talent on that team currently. And I saw that, but they didn't put it together very well. I kind of felt like maybe they just weren't very well coached, right? Kevin Hambley is a fairly well-renowned coach, but I just didn't know if he was really making use of the talent he had very well last year. And had that same sensation in the first 2 sets on last Sunday. But then they, like we said, third set, they woke up. They started playing again. I don't know what he said at halftime, but it worked. So maybe I have to take back my thoughts of him not being a good coach.
Well, he was certainly the winning coach in that one, so we'll give him credit for that. But yeah, it was I didn't even know he was the head coach, because pregame we were sitting there and just kind of watching stuff going on, and he was sitting on media row for a while, just kind of watching things.
Yeah.
And
He had his iPad with him.
Yeah, and we were thinking to ourselves, well, he must be maybe like the sports information director or something because we knew he wasn't one of the Cardinals staff.
Mm-hmm.
And said, "Oh, he's got a Stanford shirt on. What do you think he is? SID? Equipment manager? I don't know. What do you think?" And he's watching pretty intently. When we saw him as the head coach, we're kind of like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. He's got Mike Johnson with him as assistant coach, who had been the head coach at Notre Dame before we went out there. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah, the coaching's definitely there. The bloodlines are there for that, no doubt about that. So, but that was an unfortunate loss for the Cards. But they decided that when Syracuse came to town that wasn't going to bother them, as the old song is. I'm not going to let it get to me tonight. As the Cards came out and we'll call it a defeat, but it was actually take you back into the alley and beat you within an inch of your life, steal your wallet, and then also, by the way, on the way out, make sure that you don't have any shoes to wear.
Yeah, and it was accelerating too. Every match got more so that way. Every set got more so that way.
Oh, it did. I mean, in the third set, honestly, I was thinking, has there ever been a 25-0 shutout?
Oh,
Because they jumped out to quite a big lead there in the third set before Syracuse finally scored. But this is a program that's kind of been on the slide for a couple of years, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken on that. Ex-Cardinal coach up there retires, and since then, Stanford just hasn't really responded too well, have they?
yeah, they fell off a bit last year. Had a bit of a rough year, and then this year has just been. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful, but there's just no better way to say it. They're just not good. They've got 2 wins on the season, and they're to like Cornell and Morgan State. And then, lots of losses to some other kind of mediocre teams. They're just not very good, unfortunately. I want them to be good, right? Because they're a team that has shown that in a program that has shown in the past that they can be. But yeah, it's not there. Certainly not there this year. This is a second year for this coach. Yeah, wish him well. I'm not optimistic for him though, unfortunately. So
Yeah, the Cards were very, very accurate in this win. I guess you could say as they hit a total average of 452, which is anytime like batting averages in baseball. Anytime you climb over that 350 mark, you're hitting it pretty good, and the Cards almost at 500 for the match, while they held Stanford to just a minus 0.056. And that's always intrigued me. Yeah, minus hitting.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what any and the little had 8 blocks in this thing too.
yeah,
So
yeah. In 3 quick sets to get 8 blocks is not a bad number. It's pretty impressive.
the Cards, I think, we're tickled to be back in LNFCU, and I know they love to play there. I know the crowd is receptive and responsive to them there. But what kind of effect do you think that has on a team? Being at home but bouncing back and forth between the 2 different arenas while you're at your planes at home.
Yeah, I don't think the bouncing back and forth is such an issue. I think, but I do think that LNN is such a home feel for them that when they're playing down at the big arena downtown, that maybe there's a little bit of unfamiliarity that's maybe a little offsetting. I don't know. But they certainly came in. They clearly felt comfortable last night. Played well, and just showed up. A few little minor things that I was like, but did pretty well. 10 block assists, only 1 blocking error. High service errors relative to aces. You want to see that about 1-1, 7 errors to 4 aces. So, like to see that cleaned up a little bit. But those are really pretty minor things. And, also you're kind of playing everybody and their brother in there.
That's one of the ones I was going to mention to you there. We did not see Kara Creasy in this match.
No, Hannah Sherman came in and played the other middle position along with PK, and I tell you what, Sherman looked pretty good. I don't know if Cressy may have been slightly ill or something. There's been some illnesses running around through the team, apparently, from what I hear. So she may have just not been feeling up to snuff. She was on the sidelines, dressed, ready to go, but just may not have been at 100%. And wasn't needed in this game. So let's get some playing time and experience for some of the players who haven't had as much.
Also, kind of the same situation. I think Eichel Jones and Al Gluck were kind of maybe suffering maybe minor injuries, but kind of made the way there a little bit for Petrenko and of course Atlanta Bankston to step out there and actually not perform bad at all.
Yeah, and really probably Reese Robbins is probably the more direct replacement for Aiko, but Alana Bankston came in place of Charity Looper for a bit. And all three of those, Brigitte Petrenko, Alana Bankston, and Reese Robbins, all acquitted themselves quite well. 7 kills for Reese. Let's see, 23 assists for Brigitte Petrenko. Lana Bankston had 6 kills. She hit 357. Reese Robbins hit 778. That's wow. 7 kills on 9 attempts, no mistakes. She had a great game. A lot of these players came out and they just ate it up. Anna DeBeer, 9 kills on 17 attempts, error free for 529. Is really a great number for a left side like that. So yeah, it's just, and in some of this, again, you look at across the net and say, well, okay, they're not giving us a whole lot of challenge and making it a little easy for us, but still, those are good numbers regardless.
Okay, let's get into a little bit of controversy then. In this one, the controversy about Elena Scott and the number of career digs she has had.
Yeah. So, yeah, we heard during and after the match from a variety of people that she is on the verge of getting her 1,000th dig. And by the numbers that they've been using, she's actually, I think, 1 or 2 away from that. I always like to see these numbers for myself. I came home last night. I looked at the season stats pages for 2021, 2022, and so far through 2023, which only included up to the Stanford match. And just on those numbers, she's about 50 past 1,000. She's about 1,052, I think it was. I was like, wait a minute, these numbers don't add up. And then you add in, the how many did she have last night? Yeah, so many names on the list. I can't find it.
I think 15 digs last night.
15 last night. Okay. So, it should be at 2067. She's pretty well past it. So we don't know. We're kind of wondering what the numbers really are, but regardless, comes tomorrow against Boston College, she's gonna eclipse that 1,000 number if she's not there already.
Math is hard, Chuck.
Yeah. So I don't know. Some numbers got out of sync somewhere. Who knows? But
it kind of does make you wonder. I mean, were there some games that they just decided, we don't know if we're going to give this in her stat total or not, because would they have possibly added exhibition games or other games in there that shouldn't have been in there? Red and black scrimmages, something like that?
I mean, I wouldn't think so, because they don't usually keep those stats for those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this discrepancy would come from, but regardless, come I guess next Friday, we should see a nice pre-match honor for her with they give it the ball and everything. Excuse me, it'll be probably maybe Wednesday. I don't know if they'll do it on a Wednesday night with Notre Dame coming in, but that's away. Hang on, when do we play here again?
Is it Boston College, maybe?
Well, Boston College is tomorrow, but if their numbers are saying that she hasn't eclipsed it yet, the honor wouldn't be until after that. Yeah, that would make the honor they would give her the honor in front of the match against Pittsburgh at the KFCM Center, which, okay, that's cool. And I think Asad Ali is preparing a special little
back and do a recount
treat for that, so it should be fun.
That's hopefully what happened. There's God, the last couple of years, all this scandal about votes. No, never mind. But Boston College, as we mentioned, will be next up on the plate for the Cards here. Boston College team that is 11-4 on the season. I'll just kind of toss that out there. They have entered conference play already, and they are 0-1 from what I'm telling on them as they took on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame in South Bend to open their season in the ACC. Unfortunately, lost that one in 5 sets to the Irish, but still, it's not that bad a showing. I mean, they're 11-4, but Jeff, I'm looking at some of these, pre-conference matchups here. I didn't even know some of these were colleges.
Yeah, exactly. They start off in conference with Notre Dame, who's not been great the past few years. I don't know. I haven't really seen them play this year, so I don't know how well they're doing this year. They went 5 with them, but took the loss to Notre Dame, and out of conference stuff is just they lost to New Hampshire, lost to Tennessee, they lost to San Diego, who's not as great of a team as they were last year. Wins over, let's see, best wins out of this list.
Good luck.
Yeah, Michigan.
Maybe Michigan.
Yeah.
Iona's been known to have fairly good teams occasionally.
Harvard, probably not. I don't. Yeah, I mean, really, they just really haven't played anybody of note. So yeah, they're almost certainly gonna open their conference play. I'm gonna say at least 0-3. They lost to Notre Dame. They've got us next tomorrow, and then they play Pittsburgh. So they're definitely going to go 0-3 before they get to like Virginia. Virginia's not bad either. They're probably going to hold up pretty well. So I don't think this team is as good as that 11-4 record shows.
So maybe a little bit overblown there on the stats compared to the actual skill of the squad. But I was just kind of going to take a look at some of their individual numbers here. They must have 30 people on this roster. It's incredible. Just
I have not looked.
Rolling down here, I'm looking at it right now. Holy gosh! But in past years, they haven't really been.
They do have a bunch, don't they?
Yeah, it's amazing. I was just like, well, this could be a 12, 15 player roster. I can't quickly figure out some of their numbers, but just from what you can remember in years past, they haven't really been much of a threat for Louisville, have they?
They never have traditionally. The past couple of years they have been okay. They haven't been spectacular. They haven't been world beaters, but they kind of quit being they're the complete doormat of the conference. So they actually can play against some teams and have some competitive matches. So some improvement there, but they're not going to go out and be competing for the national championship at this point. So
probably more maybe a mid-major than ACC squad, perhaps.
Yeah, something around like a mid to bottom third sort of level, maybe around in there.
So it should be a good one for the fans to come out and get loud, and perhaps we'll continue to see Danny's recent trend of kind of opening the bench up and saying, "Hey, you want in there? Go on in there."
Yep.
How many did we play? Everybody on the roster that was eligible to play.
We didn't play Kara Cressy.
Yeah, I remember that. But
yeah. Anybody else we missed?
Because I wasn't really trying to. I heard some names I had not heard all season. And
yeah, no, we because we saw Nina Moore come in, which was that was her first game of the season, first side of the season that she played in, which is great to see coming off some stress fracture stuff there. Charity Ellie, we didn't see Jessica Drap. We didn't see Molly Urban, the two DSs, freshman DSs. They may be working towards a red shirt for those two.
Yes,
I'm not sure.
probably.
But otherwise, those two plus Kara would have been the ones we didn't see last night.
So, anyway, that one take place, and certainly, I know you'll be out there. Jared will be out there.
Mhm.
I would mention to the fans, come on out for this one, but not so easy a ticket to get anymore when they're playing in the LNFCU, is it?
Yeah, I'm presuming this is probably already a sellout again. I haven't actually heard any official notice of that, but most of the matches at LNFCU are seats 1,000, so it's just not that many. That's that refrain of we need a bigger place. So, yeah.
And it is certainly a madhouse down around campus now with Louder Than Life and everything else going on, plus football going on down there today. So
yeah, yesterday was definitely a busy day. We were talking about that earlier. You had field hockey out there, you had volleyball, you had a lot on the life going on, and I think somebody said St. X Trinity at Cardinal Stadium.
I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah, or whatever it's called now, LNFCU Stadium. So yeah, it was definitely busy. Traffic was tough to get through getting there, but yeah. Again, a lot on life today. We'll have some busy traffic there. Football going on, UofL football going on. We'll again contribute to that, but I don't need to be down there today, so I'm okay. Tomorrow will be better.
Yeah, absolutely. Today would be a rough day to have volleyball, in addition to everything else that's going on. So thank goodness there won't be. But we have rolled upon the noon hour, and another successful show in the books here. We'll kind of go ahead and segue into some final thoughts, sir. What's going on as far as those go with you?
Yeah, gosh.
I know we've covered quite a bit today, but
yeah, I don't know.
and I can go
It's
first
been
if you want to think about it.
yeah. I just say it's been an exciting week with some good wins. A couple, a loss or two in there for sports teams, but great things going on. We've got 3 fall sports teams. I'm going to include men's soccer here, even though it's outside of our normal scope, that are in the top 5 nationally. And then having, like I mentioned earlier, field hockey all of a sudden be good at corners and, soccer and women's soccer finding offense. It's been a great turn. That's really exciting. So, combine that with my role change at work that I'm having a lot of fun with this week. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm in a good mood right now.
There you go. The sun is shining
Yeah.
on Jeff's side of the corner. So there you are. It's a good thing for you. Let's hope it stays that way.
Yep.
Me on final thoughts here. Just the 2023 Hall of Fame was announced a couple of days back, and some players that I remember quite well on both sides of women and men's sports that got in there.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations, obviously, on the women's side to Monique Reed.
Yes.
Basketball player extraordinaire for the Cards. Came in the early years of the Jeff Walls run and did not disappoint at all.
Went to 2 Final Fours.
She sure did.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
And a Fern Creek product. I know you got to be proud of that.
Yes, indeed. I can remember her at Fern Creek and saying,
Yeah.
boy, I hope this new UofL coach can get her.
Yeah.
Guess what? She did go.
Yeah.
To the
She just really kind of hung up her shoes from playing pro overseas too. So
yeah, she's been over there for playing for such a long time, and she finally just said to herself, I've done all I need to do. I've proved all I need to prove to myself. It's time to move on. I think, did I see she got engaged recently too?
I did not see that, but it's possible.
So
yeah,
but yeah,
we'll throw out also Hall of Fame, Louisville Hall of Fame, Sandy Pearsall,
absolutely,
long-time softball coach, started the program.
The next one I was going to mention was Sandy. Sure
yeah. And Lena Ustamenko, who played volleyball, was just before my time of having season tickets, so I don't remember her playing, but her name's up on that, on the front of the balcony where all the All-American players' names are. So she was pretty good, apparently.
Absolutely so. Sandy Pearsall, of course, the one who came in and basically took the reins of forming a softball program. And gee, she did a pretty good job at it, didn't she?
Yep.
From 2000 to 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And Sandy, of course, was always noted for having some of the best speakers ever come into the softball banquet each year.
Yeah.
Had some
She
wonderful
did have some
times.
really good ones.
Yes, she did indeed. Some great ones. And it was always good to see Sandy, too, kind of tottering around at the banquet after a couple drinks. Because people were always buying her drinks, those things. And she just had a big grin on her face after a while. And hello, hello. Great to see. Also, one other I do want to mention just real quickly on that was Felton Spencer, a basketball player who kind of lived in the shadow of Purvis Ellison for a few years, but kind of did some things on his own after Purvis graduated. And of course, Felton, well loved around the Louisville community for the stuff that he's accomplished. So,
absolutely.
All right, a great show. We want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening today. We'll catch you back here next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. Until then, everybody have a great rest of your weekend and go Cards.